Hello everyone. In the last video, we have talked about how, after Chen, Sheng, and Guang raised the banner of rebellion, various rebel forces quickly emerged. So how did the Qin Empire react to this? That's what we will discuss in this video. While chaos erupted across the Qin Empire, Qin, the second emperor, was enjoying a life of luxury and entertainment in his palace in capital Shenyang. And Qin, the second emperor, real name was Hu Hai. Hu Hai was the youngest son of Qin Shi Huang Ying Zheng, and he wasn't supposed to become emperor. Ying Zheng had chosen his eldest son, Fu Su, as his successor. However, this decree, already sealed with the emperor seal, was swapped with a forged one by the eunuch Zhao Gao and the prime minister Li Si. As a result, Hu Hai became the second emperor of Qin Dynasty, while Fu Su was ordered to commit suicide by another fake decree. Could Qin Shi Huang Ying Zheng have foreseen such an event? He probably never imagined that someone would dare to forge an imperial decree after his death. But now he was beyond caring. His body was being transported back to Shenyang, surrounded by rotting fish to mask the smell. Qin Shi Huang Ying Zheng had died in the scorching heat of July during his grand tour of the empire, and Prime Minister Li Si kept his death a secret. Zhao Gao, Hu Hai, and Li Si, three persons, conspired to continue their tour with the emperor's corpse in tow, planning to return to Shenyang only after Hu Hai had secured his position as the new emperor. To cover the stench of decay, they filled the cart with salted fish. If Qin Shi Huang Ying Zheng hadn't been so autocratic and suspicious, things might not have gotten so bad. At the very least, if he had publicly declared Fu Su as his successor or held a council when he was gravely ill, the situation could have been different. But he refused, holding on tightly to his power while taking all sorts of dangerous potions in the belief that he could live forever. No one dared to challenge or advise him. In the end, this mighty figure died, rotting amidst a pile of smelly fish, and ultimately doomed his empire. Ying Zheng's mistakes were already severe, but under his son, the second, things got even worse, making the collapse of the Qin Empire inevitable. In fact, when Chen, Sheng, and Guang first rebelled, the news did reach the Qin court, indicating that the state machinery Qin Shi Huang Ying Zheng had created was functioning effectively. However, Hu Hai killed anyone who brought such news, forcing the intelligence services to start lying, saying that only minor thieves had caused some trouble and chaos, that local officials had already dealt with them. Only then would Hu Hai be pleased. Even as the empire neared its end, Hu Hai refused to change, still unable to believe that anyone would dare rebel against him. when Prime Minister Li Si and others proposed halting the construction of the Epang Palace to free up resources to suppress the rebellion and alleviate public grievances. Hu Hai's response was to imprison the officials, accusing them of trying to govern him when they couldn't even handle the rebels. Two of these officials, unable to bear the humiliation, took their own lives in prison. What started as a small spark grew into a raging fire because the emperor refused to act. How could such a foolish and incompetent emperor not bring about his own downfall? But even if Hu Hai hadn't been the emperor, would the Qin Empire have survived? Probably not. There's no evidence that rebellions didn't occur before Chen, Sheng, and Guang. In fact, there likely were many smaller uprisings that didn't make it into the history books because they were too insignificant. After all, as Chen Sheng famously said, the people have suffered under Qin Dynasty for too long. Wherever there is oppression, there is resistance. So, if the people had suffered for so long, it wasn't just Chen Sheng who rebelled. But can we trust Chen Sheng's statement? Maybe yes. He wasn't the only one to see it. When Wu Chen led his northern campaign, he persuaded local gentry by saying, "The people have suffered under Qin Dynasty for too long," a suffering that had lasted for decades. This suffering wasn't solely the result of Hu Hai's reign. So, why had the people suffered under Qin Dynasty for so long? First, the burden was heavy, and second, the laws were harsh. Qin Shi Huang Ying Zheng was known for many great achievements, building roads, removing natural barriers, controlling rivers, melting down weapons, conquering the Baiyue tribe, and constructing the Great Wall. These were all part of his grand unification efforts. But they required immense human and material resources. These resources didn't come from nowhere. Actually, they were squeezed out of the people. Tightening their belts to pay exorbitant taxes was already hard enough. But many also had to risk their lives. Those who went on long military campaigns, guarded the borders, built the Great Wall, or constructed the emperor's tomb. Did so without modern machinery, insurance, or adequate medical care. How many could survive such hazardous work, and how many of those left behind could live peacefully? Families were torn apart, and homes were ruined, and Qin Shi Huang Ying Zheng's unification was built on the bones of the common people and written in their blood and tears. Historical records show that just the northern campaign led by General Meng Tian and the southern campaign led by General Tu Sui alone caused the destruction of at least 2 million households. With an average of 3 to 5 people per household, this means a population loss of 6 to 10 million. In an empire in Qin Empire, that only had 36 to 45 million people at that time. Whose great achievement was this, and who would willingly participate? If no one wanted to, the only way was through coercion. The laws of the Qin Dynasty were notoriously harsh. For example, those sentenced to execution would first have their faces tattooed, then have their noses cut off, their feet amputated, before being beaten to death, decapitated, and finally dismembered in public. So can you imagine how terrifying that must have been? If this kind of extortion, brutal law enforcement, and senseless killing isn't considered tyranny, it's at least oppressive, and such oppression was intolerable. Even to Qin Shi Huang's eldest son, Fusu, think so. Under such harsh rule, the people were truly at their wits' end. So, when someone finally led a rebellion, people rallied to the cause. Even the fortune teller Chen, Sheng, and Guang consulted before their rebellion was a witness to the people's suffering. Otherwise, why would that fortune teller bother to advise them on how to proceed? Once the fire of anger is ignited, it burns fiercely. Once a flag is raised, someone must be sacrificed. They couldn't reach the emperor, so they started by killing officials. The first head placed under the banner of the Dazhexiang uprising was that of a military officer. This pattern repeated across other counties in Qin. In fact, after the reforms of Shenyang, Qin's officials became the tools of autocracy, armed with the philosophy of legalism. The empire needed wolves, and they were the trainers. The empire needed sheep, and they were the herding dogs. The more loyal they were to the emperor, the more brutal they were to the people. Almost without exception, the loyal ministers of Qin Dynasty were also cruel officials, because without cruelty, they couldn't enforce the harsh laws. The people's hatred for them was entirely justified. In the last video, we mentioned that when Chen Sheng sent Wu Chen to attack original Zhao state, Wu Chen reached Fanyang County, where the strategist Kuai Tong persuaded the county magistrate Xu Gong to surrender. Kuai Tong told Xu Gong, he said, "You've been the magistrate here for 10 years, killing fathers, orphaning children, cutting off feet, and tattooing faces of people. Too many to count. The only reason the dutiful sons and fathers of this county haven't stabbed you yet is out of fear of Qin's laws. But now that the empire is in chaos and Qin's laws are no longer enforced, aren't you doomed?" Of course, he was doomed. So, he is willing to surrender. After Chen Sheng and Wu Guang's uprising, the people across the empire began killing the Qin officials in response. As Wu Chen put it, in every county, the magistrates were killed, and in every commandery, the governors were slain. Every household harbored anger, and every person fought for themselves and seeking revenge and killing their enemies. These were the seeds sown by Qin Shi Huang and his ministers, and they bore the fruit of destruction. The fall of Qin Empire was no accident. It was bound to happen, no matter who was in charge. Okay, that's all of for this video, and please like, follow, share, and comment. We will see you in the next video, and we will talk about the failure and the death of Chen, Sheng, and Guang. Thanks for watching.